couple times we've been at places where you just spend what you want. And those are great situations to be in. But let's be honest, I've been doing this for 27 years and I've only been in that situation twice for a brief period of time. So most of the time when you're in an organization, you're severely constrained by your budget. What are some things for those professionals to think outside the box? I mean, we know we have very limited budget. You may have, a program of one.
I've had budget most places, but not all places. And I think when you're looking to request funds, you need to go through kind of that assessment.
Yeah.
What do I have? What do I not have? What am I trying to achieve? What does that look like? Am I just trying to band-aid and fix something as a stopgap?
Yeah.
Do I really need to implement something? Is it a policy? Do I not have the expertise in-house to do certain things? It really depends on that. You can do a lot of really cool things with just a policy. And I talk about this in one of the presentations that I do, where most people come to me and say, I don't have budget. I can't do that. And you really have to be creative and think, what already exists? Do I have a policy, a standard? Do I have liaisons in place? Can I play off of that? One thing I like to do is like a scavenger hunt. So around RIM month or around cleanup type days, if I have nothing else in place, I can at least say, hey, look at the first person to tell me the roles and responsibilities of a records coordinator, or whatever you call them in your organization, gets entered into a drawing for a gift card. Now, if you don't have budget, maybe you come up with a $5 Starbucks gift card or something to entice people. But that's really what that is. It's also, for me, when I haven't had budget, I am assessing, I'm doing what I can with what budget I have, if any, and if none, I'm building relationships. I'm out there, I'm meeting with people in the organization, I'm understanding their business processes, and really starting to understand the organization. And it's not just I'm going to sit and I'm going to do absolutely nothing and kind of be status quo. It's, well, what can I do to help them?
Yeah.
And it may be something as simple as they have a file share with content on there and they need a file plan. I can build a file plan in Excel with no money. I can look at the retention schedule. If I don't have one, I can kind of give them an idea and create one of what it should be. But then when I start to show to executives, hey, here are all the things that are happening in the business. Here's the impact to the business by doing these things. Mm-hmm. They start to say, oh, wait, you need $40,000 to start doing X, Y, and Z. Yes, and here's the reward and here's the benefit. And what I've noticed is those relationships, especially with those leaders within the organization, they start talking to each other, and you do one thing really well, it's just infectious.
So that's without a budget. So say you're in, you have a little bit of budget. You don't know how to get to point A to point B, whatever your point A is, wherever you're at within your organization. At EMRY, one of our biggest pushes is to help those organizations actually give them actionable assessments, provide that at wherever they're at, to get them from wherever they're at to where they want to be. I know you have a lot of deep experience with that. At EMRY, you've helped us a lot with that as we've grown that part of our practice. Speak to those assessments when you do have a little bit of budget to get past the helping the one-offs to really being able to take your program to the next level, and how it doesn't have to be rocket science, right? It can be a simplified process to get from point A to point B. How, when you get in those, how do you approach those assessments?
So every organization is different, which we've talked about. Yeah. It's really understanding and assessing what exists. Yeah. Understanding budget too. Is this budget that you have this year only? Is it budget that's going to be perpetual? Yeah. Are is it something where we think there could be an increase in budget or a decrease? And then looking at kind of what does that roadmap look like? Yeah. What are the things that you want to achieve? So really even starting from, and I say assessment, but it's really almost a worksheet assessment of what policies are in place, what processes are in place, what systems are in place. What are things that maybe you're already drafted that you haven't gotten across the finish line? Looking at that, comparing it to kind of a comprehensive list of things that are normal for an organization of a certain size, a certain risk level, and then building out that plan to say, well, maybe a policy review isn't necessary because you just did it.
Yeah.
But maybe it's going to be the standards. Maybe you're really struggling with what type of standards can I put together. But understanding the organization to build that out, it's really a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, sitting down just like this, talking to the people who are leading the program, talking to, you know, sometimes leadership or executives. What is their scope? What are they trying to achieve? What are your challenges? What are you struggling with? Are you having a problem with people putting content where it really needs to go? Are you having a problem with, you know, maintaining compliance or having a legally defensible program? Really understanding all of those core competencies of an organization and those challenges, taking a step back and looking at it. And I am a huge whiteboard person, so I'll go to a whiteboard and be like, all right, this organization, we got this and this and this. We need to focus on X, Y, and Z. Here's where they want to be. And you think about the maturity index. If they're at a very low maturity index and they just want to get to like the next level, you can build that roadmap out with a little bit of budget. And that's something as simple. If I were to go into any organization, the first things I would look at would be policy, standard, retention schedule. Those are like the core foundational things that you need for a good program. I mean, you clearly need hopefully budget and executive support and all those other great things, but those are like the core things. And then you start to look at, okay, how am I going to communicate it? What's the training going to look like? Do I have the liaisons in place to implement it? But the first step in my mind is really, if we don't have those in place, we need to get those intact at some level so that we can implement change and really enforce that on the back end.